welcome back to the Literally Nothing But Everything podcast with your host, the one and only Mike Rispoli. So how's your week been? You guys made it to another Tuesday and you decided that you had nothing better to do than listen to this shitty podcast? So fair warning, this episode might be a little bit slower because last night I went to the Rangers game, which I'll get into, but I have gotten like no sleep. So I am exhausted. I don't know why. For some reason, last night after I got home from the game, I just could not fall asleep. My body was up, but I was mentally tired. It was like one of those situations. And today I'm definitely feeling it. But as I mentioned last week, I had off this week. Yay me. So I did end up actually going back into my workout routine. So no more Mikey Man tits for me. It's time to get this train rolling. But what I realized was I was kind of daunted at the idea of working out. That's why it kind of took me so long to try and get into the groove of it. And what I realized is just like kind of like anything, you kind of have to take it slow when you start. Like my dumb ass is always just like, oh, I'm just going to try and pick up where I left off. And my body was like, the fuck, no, you're not. That's what you think. So the way that I kind of got back into it was I just kind of did a workout, but I did a lesser grade workout. And normally what I would do prior to this friggin' hiatus that I was on, I would work out for like an hour and a half a day. I would split it up between like my cardio and my weights. And I mean, I was in great shape, but I ultimately think I also burned myself out. So what I'm doing to get back into it is I'm just doing like short spurts, and hopefully by next week I'll be able to get into a true groove of it. But oh my God, friggin'. So I worked out Monday through Wednesday. So for the first time in a month and a half, I did 3 days of consecutive exercising. And by Thursday, my body was just like, we need a friggin' break, which is today. So today, I think I'm going to take it as a rest day. We'll pick back up again tomorrow. We'll do a little something Saturday. And then by Monday, hopefully I'll get back into the full swing. But yeah, if you're just starting out, like if you're kind of like me and you're in the situation of trying to get back into working out after not doing it for a while, you got to just learn to take it slow. Like you might be in the mindset of, oh, I just need to get back into it and I'm going to go full swing. But no. It's like everything in life. Like I said, you just got to learn to take it slow. Kind of like me starting out this new job, right? It's kind of like a board game. You're going to have to learn as you go along because every company's different. And it's funny because it actually reminds me of my mom's cousin's kid who's trying to learn the guitar. And he was showing me some stuff. And he was kind of just like learning the basic riffs of like Smoke on the Water, Iron Man, and stuff like that. But he was trying to play it just so fast when he was showing me like what he could do. And I'm like, dude, you got to just slow it down. Like learn the notes first and then the speed will come. So I think that's the mindset that I got to take trying to get back into working out here. But you know, it's absolutely crazy the day that I decided to go to this game because my friend actually texted me on Easter and he was like, hey, I'm getting Ranger tickets. Do you want to go? I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So little did we know that there would be a friggin' monsoon that would hit us. I mean, my God, these winds were wild. And not only were the winds bad, but the rain, it was like torrentials. So the people at the game, it was me, a couple of my friends that I've known since like I was a child, and one of my friend's girlfriends who's really cool. And then my friend's friend came along. So we had a pretty good group of us, just the four of us. But I ended up meeting them in the city because we just took different train stations. And from the train station that they used, where they parked, it was like a 20-minute walk to the actual train station. So we all got into the city and they were absolutely drenched. And I actually did the smart thing, which is something I don't normally do. But I also wore a rain jacket. And I don't normally wear rain jackets in general just because I figure from my car to my door is maybe 30 seconds. And then from where I'm parked to the front entrance of where I'm going is like another 30 seconds. So I'm like, I'm not going to freaking deal with wearing an extra jacket just for a little rain. And I have stopped using umbrellas ever since college. And the reason why is because the first time I pulled out my umbrella walking to class because it was raining out, one of my friends turned to me and he's just like, oh, what you matter? You little pansy afraid of the water? What's the matter? The water gonna melt you? So I'm just like, no, I'm not a pansy. The water's not gonna melt me. And from that day on, I just stopped using umbrellas. But I actually did wear a raincoat because I didn't want to have what happened to my friends happen to me, where I'm just sitting there cold, wet, and bothered. That's what she said. But the game itself was actually great. This was my first Rangers game, so that was pretty exciting. And I gotta say, the crowds at hockey games are just electric. Like, I don't know what it is, but every time there's a goal, the whole stadium just gets really into it. The Rangers have a little like goal song that they sing, which is kind of fun. So there's crowd involvement. But let's go back to the game. So the Rangers are actually a very good hockey team. I can see why they're like going to be possibly going to the finals this year. I mean, I think the last time the Rangers were in the finals was in 2014. So, I mean, it's exciting if you're a Rangers fan, but the Rangers did kind of have me nervous for a little bit because they scored early in the first period. It was 2-0, and then the Devils got it back to 2-2. But there was a little while there where I was kind of nervous because then the Devils made it 3-2, and it wasn't until like 9 minutes left into the third period where the Rangers were able to score again to make it 3-3. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, oh my God, is this my fault again? Because there is a situation where I have a friend who, whenever we try to plan something around sports wise, nothing goes our way. Like last year, for example, was his first Yankee game. I brought him to Yankee Stadium. They were playing the Astros and they lost. So his first Yankee game and they ended up losing. The same friend, brought me to Brady's last game as a Patriot back in 2019 in that wild card game against the Titans. And my like only in-person memory is seeing Brady lose a game, which arguably they probably shouldn't have even been there to begin with. I mean, considering the fact that that team just was not good, and Brady still found a way to get that team to the playoffs. Unbelievable. But my in-person memory of Brady is seeing him lose a game, and not only lose a game, but his last play as a Patriot was throwing a pick six, which also iced the game. So not a great first experience at Gillette Stadium. And then same friend, 2 years ago now, we tried to go see the Lakers play the Knicks at MSG. And our whole thought process was we wanted to see LeBron play because how the fuck can you not try and see one of the greats? I know I gave him some shit last week, but I mean, the dude is a top five of all time. I don't care what your rankings are, if he's one or two, but the dude belongs in one of those two rankings. And I say one or two only for the fact in case you're a LeBron or a Jordan fan, because they're pretty interchangeable at this point. And we bought those tickets like pretty well in advance. And of course, maybe this was 3 years ago now, but of course, that was also the game that LeBron got suspended. So I'm thinking like maybe it's me. Like maybe I'm the bad luck charm. So going into the Rangers Devils game this past Wednesday, I was just like, oh my God, I swear to God if they lose, because then that truly means that I'm the jinx. But they ended up winning because the final score ended up being 4-3. So let's go Rangers. And if you haven't been to a game in New York, I highly recommend that you do, because I don't know if this is just all like sports venues, but I swear some of the commentary that you can hear within the venues are well worth it just alone for the price. Because I went to the bathroom and there was a guy behind me in line, and it was a long ass line, especially for a men's line. Like I was kind of shocked that it was like around the corner. So one of the guys was just like, once we started getting in, he was just like, all right, let's start doubling up here, people. I gotta piss. He was like, I feel like in that scene in Austin Powers where he gets out of that cryo chamber. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. Shout out to my Austin Powers fans out there. But during the game, from what I saw, it appears that like hockey can get a little stagnant at times because like they're all fighting for the puck and the like, or three guys are around the puck and nobody's doing anything with it. And that happened so many times that even the guy to like my right just kept saying, all right, girls, come on, let's play some hockey. And this kid in front of me, he couldn't have been any more than like 6 years old. Every time that happened, I thought he kept saying like, what the fuck? So I'm like laughing to myself because a kid swearing is just so funny in general. But the mom was sitting right next to him. I got to assume it was his mother, never corrected him. So I'm like, I know we're in New York, but my God, like, how is this kid? Like, where did this kid learn this? So eventually I lean over to my friend. I'm like, dude, is he saying what the fuck? And he goes, no, I think he's saying get the puck. I'm like, all right, that would make a little bit more sense. My friggin' dumbass. but I couldn't resist while we were there. I had to use the old heckle. Hey, ref, get off your knees. You're blowing the game. And honestly, I got to give kudos to my sister on this because I never would have even said it if it wasn't for her. Because over Easter weekend, she reminded us of the story about how my high school janitor, so my senior year of high school, my school's basketball team did really well. We ended up going to either the finals or the semifinals. I can't remember. But that year, like everybody was hyped about our basketball team. And our high school janitor would sneak in with like the student section where we're all going crazy. And he would just belt that line out like, hey, ref, get off your knees. You're blowing the game to a high school basketball ref. Like, dude, it's not that serious. And then as he would say it, he would also kind of duck down and look around like, oh, it wasn't me that said it. And it's like, dude, no 17-year-old is creative enough to come up with that. Plus, you literally stick out like a sore thumb, you bald-headed bastard. Sorry, I don't know if you heard my chair squeak. It's not perfect, guys. We're doing our best here. But let me pose this question to you. Out of all the sporting events, what is your favorite one to go to? Now, I can't say that I've been to a UFC fight or a boxing match. I honestly don't see the point in UFC. I really don't. It's just, as one of my friends said, he's like, it's just a bunch of hood rats going at it in the ring. And I'm just like, haven't we come so far as a society to be more civilized? Like, how is it that in schools we promote no fighting, but yet we go on TV and people can see that fighting is a professional thing? So I don't know. You be the judge there. But out of all of the like big sporting events, whether it be UFC, boxing, NBA, NFL, MLB, or NHL, what's your favorite one to go to? Because I gotta say, I think my rankings 1 through 4 go MLB, NHL, NFL, and then NBA. Now, I am a little biased because for the past few years, my dad and I are both huge Yankees fans. So for his Father's Day gift, I've been getting him Yankee tickets. And oh, now this actually reminds me. So last year, this is where I thought I was another jinx because last year I get my dad and I tickets to see the Yankees and Astros. We both hate the Astros. I wouldn't even say it's just a rivalry between the Yankees and the Astros at this point. I think many MLB teams hate the Astros, and I think it's due to that cheating scandal. But Yankees were down like 6-0 in like the fifth inning. So we're just sitting there like, do we leave by the seventh or the eighth to try and beat traffic? Like, we're not going to sit here just to watch a blowout. And by the sixth inning, all of a sudden, Volpe just starts a rally. I don't know if he got on base by a walk or if he was hit by a pitch, but then he ended up stealing second, got the third, then he stole home. And so then it was 5-1. And then after that, Yankees ended up having a massive comeback, and they ended up winning, I think, 8-6 or 9-7, something close like that. So, yeah, you know what? I don't think I am the jinx. I think officially my friend has officially taken the title as the jinx. But so I have that with my dad where we go to Yankee games, and I've been going to Yankees games since I was a kid. So maybe there's a little bit of a sentimental aspect to that. But I would have to rank NHL as my 2 just because the crowd aspect is amazing. I mean, there was a dude there in front of us, not the same family that I'm talking about earlier, but this was a different like dude and his son. And it was his son's first Rangers game. But he went to like go get a drink or something. He left his kid there. So we must have been a pretty trusting section. But you know what? Who the hell am I to judge? Because I remember when I was in 8th grade, the first concert that I went to was Heart opening up for Def Leppard. And I brought one of my friends, my sister was there, and my dad went. So it was the 4 of us. And we went to Mohegan Sun to see the concert. And we were like way up in the back. I mean, legitimately, we could not be any farther back. Because if we put our hand back, that was the friggin' wall. So my dad's looking around and he's just like, I don't know if I want to stay on for Heart. I want to wait for Def Leppard to come on. So he's like, are you guys good here? And we're like, yeah, I think so. I mean, considering that there was a woman who walked up with a cane, I don't think anybody was going to try and take us. So he's like, all right, cool. He goes down to gamble and he's like, text me when Def Leppard's on. So he leaves to go gamble, and once we're leaving the venue after Def Leppard played, my dad just like, all right, nobody tell mom that I left you guys. So we get in the car and we call my mom, tell her that we're on our way home, and my sister's in the front seat. So my dad's just like, oh yeah, concert's over, we're on our way home. And my sister just goes, yeah, and dad won X amount of dollars at the blackjack table. And my mom is just like, what? You left them? So I feel like it happens more often than it doesn't after seeing that guy. But then I would say my third ranking goes NFL, only for the fact, I mean, as much as I love football, I gotta put NFL at my three, only for the fact that you're fighting the elements. Like, if I lived in an area like Florida where I could see the Bucks play and not have to worry about the snow or the rain or whatever the fuck else, like, even if it rains, I'll deal with it if it's warm weather. But New England in the cold, I'm a Pats fan. Like, that shit sucks. And then you're standing the whole time, so your body's like aching at the end of it. It's like, do we not know how to sit? Although I will say, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that there might be snow or rain on your seat, so who the fuck wants to sit in that anyways? But plus, also, I think when it comes to like watching sports on TV, like NFL does it right. Because if you go to a game, especially if you're at an angle in the stadium, you're not necessarily going to see where the first down markers are, what exact yardage they're on. Whereas if you're watching the game, it's such a, like, they have it so perfectly laid out that you get to see everything. So I would much rather honestly watch an NFL game on the comfort of my couch than going to a stand and fighting the elements. And then, of course, we got the last ranking of the NBA. And I gotta say, I don't know what it is. I feel like NBA games are just really quiet. I mean, unless there's like a TV timeout, a substitution made, or whatever it is that would stop the game, that's the only time you're really going to hear noise. And that's only because of the music and the Jumbotron. Like, basketball crowds don't really seem to get like that crazy. Now, college crowds, I think, do, based on what I've seen in TV. I've never been to an NCAA game. But the NBA crowd that I saw at MSG, I don't even know if that was a full out crowd. I think it was. Nobody just seemed really into the game. Everybody just seemed so focused on watching anything. And that's the beauty of MLB games, personally, because the game is just so slow that it won't matter if you're not exactly watching, because if something happens or if you hear the bat hit the ball, like, you're going to look up. And the crowd will also let you know what's going on based on their own reactions. But I remember, like, an NBA game, I looked down at my phone for like 2 minutes just to return a couple texts. And all of a sudden, I saw like a 10-point score differential. I'm like, what the fuck did I just miss? Like, how did that even happen? So I think because NBA games, you have to be so focused on what's going on, you're not really going to get a lot of the chatter that you might hear at an NFL game, an NHL game, or an MLB game. But let's be real here. You're going to an MLB game. You're basically going for leisure. Like, you really are going for leisure. Like, it's pretty much just having a backyard cookout in a stadium. Because that's all it is. You're just sitting there talking with whoever you're with, drinking your beer, eating your hot dog, and just chilling. So, I don't know. It'll be curious to hear what you guys think. But also, so I did get some comments on what I posted last week about bad stories of somebody that you didn't mean to message. And I posted a TikTok about it. And just to remind everybody, so what happened with me, as I said last week, was I was at work. Somebody tasked me to do something. They asked for help. I meant to message my friend, but what I actually did was I ended up messaging the person that I helped, and it was not a nice comment. So people on TikTok responded, and I thought it would be fun to maybe read some of these people's responses. So one person said, I was going on a trip with my then boyfriend, and I meant to text him to bring condoms. I sent it to my dad instead. Oh, sorry, Dad. And then this other person wrote, I've sent my mom nudie Judies before. I'm assuming this person is not from America. And she goes, I sent my sister boob pics. I've sent my godmother belfies, which I think is a butt selfie. And I accidentally posted all on my Facebook pads. LOL. I look before hitting send now. So, moral of the story, make sure you're actually messaging the person that you intend to message before you hit submit. So if anybody else has any stories like that, I'm all ears. You can send them to lmbemedia@gmail.com. Or hell, maybe if you even want to look at the TikTok post that I made. I'm not super active with TikTok. I'm trying to get more into it. But you can look up the LNBE pod on TikTok. I also do have an Instagram, so you can look up the LNBE podcast on Instagram. Like I said, as I've said, I'm trying to get more involved with the social media, especially now with this new job. It's going to take a little bit more of my time, but I'm going to figure this out. Don't you worry. Because what's the fun in this unless I also get responses, right? Like, I want to hear from you guys. Like, in this super selfish world, it's not all about me here. And in the honor of April Fool's last year, let me pose another question out there for you. What is the worst prank that you pulled on a roommate? So, I mean, I didn't do anything last week about April 1st because, quite frankly, I forgot. I mean, when your life is a joke, every day is April Fool's Day. But one of the pranks that I did to my roommate, and it was so stupidly simple. All I did was I just rearranged his drawers. So if he had underwear in the top drawer and pants on the bottom drawer, I just flipped those drawers. Like, so stupid, so simple, but it definitely took him a minute. Like, that's not a way that you want to start your day as opposite day. And then, oh my gosh, same roommate. I took shaving cream and I actually put that into a shampoo bottle. So then instead of like shampoo, he ended up getting shaving cream. I don't know if he was smart enough to use it or not. He never said anything. And then another bad thing I did was after like a night of drinking, this roommate went out and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just totally piss him off. So I took all of our cologne that we had and I just dumped it all on his mattress, which was kind of a dick thing to do because it was a waste of cologne too. But I knew it was just gonna stink. And after coming home from a night of partying, the last thing you want to do is get into a disgusting, smelly bed. So not only did I just dump it on his mattress, I actually pulled off the like fitted sheet and I stuck it in the mattress so it was like all there. And then I also did his pillows. And he ended up like just taking off all of his bedding and just falling asleep on the mattress. So, what are some of your April Fool's Day pranks that you guys have pulled? And maybe we could share those, or hell, maybe even get a little creative and tell me some April Fool's Day pranks that you had in the office. I remember one April Fool's, I had a like fake cockroach, and this thing was like lifelike. It was massive, but it had like all the details on it. Shout out to my mom for finding it because she initially was the one who got me with it. So I took it and I brought it to work with me and I stuck it on somebody's desk or like on their keyboard. And right when they walked into their office, all of a sudden you just hear. And then that cockroach, once the person realized it was fake, that cockroach then made it to everybody else's desk except for mine. And I was the one who ruined it because I totally forgot about it. But when it landed on my desk, I didn't do anything because I knew it was fake. So that was how they found out that I was the culprit. But even if it's like a little prank, it costs you nothing to bring a little bit of joy into somebody's life, right? Like as long as it's lighthearted. I'm not saying go out and do something crazy, but like lighthearted jokes, it just makes for a much more fun environment. And like I said, it costs you nothing to try and put a smile on somebody's face. And you know what? I actually did end up putting a smile on somebody's face actually on my way to New York when I was going to meet up with my friends for this Rangers game. Because, I mean, it only cost me $60, but I put a smile on somebody's face. Because what ended up happening was when I was on the train, a homeless woman actually came and sat down next to me. And she probably started out with one of the best opening lines. I actually might try and see if I could use it at a bar. She goes, "Are you in a good mood today?" And I was just like, I think so. I mean, I didn't really have anything to complain about. I was off work. I was going to a Rangers game. What did I have to complain about? And she was telling me how she was homeless and she was hoping to maybe go up to Yonkers because I guess there was a church that was doing a clothing drive and she could get clothes for 99 cents. So she was asking me for like $1 just to get a new sweatshirt. But I was like, you know what? Like, I can guarantee you she didn't pay for this train ticket. So I'm going to give her money for the train ticket. I'm going to give her some money for the clothing drive. And I'm also just going to give her a little bit of cash for some food. So I ended up actually giving her $60 just because, you know what? I felt like it was the right thing to do. Like, I understand that I've bitched on this podcast previously about stuff going on with my job or just stuff in general that just might annoy me. But I understand that my situation could be a lot worse. I mean, I got this new job that I'm starting on Monday, and I have a roof over my head. I have food that I can eat. I have clothes that I can wear. So my situation could be vastly worse than another person's. And yeah, most people might just be like, oh, well, why didn't you just ignore her or whatever? And I'm like, you know what? It costs you nothing to at least have a conversation with somebody. And yes, of course, I knew where it was going. But you know what? At the end of it, she goes, I always knew white people were angels, so I got something out of it. And at the end of the day, I think it ultimately comes down to helping people rather than the government trying to help you. Because to me, I don't know, liberals and conservatives just want shit to happen and it won't. Just because I feel like they're all just too greedy and they don't want to give anything up. Like, I don't know. Liberals and conservatives to me are just that toxic couple that can't seem to compromise and just argue. And once the argument is done, one of them just comes back and goes, and another thing. Like, it's such a problem that on both sides, the parties just have way too many extremists that yield way too much power, so nothing can get done. And now it's gotten to this point almost where compromise just looks like weakness. Like, at some point, the liberals and the conservatives have to realize that they are like a married couple, right? You can't live with them, but you can't live without them. So, and I know this is going to sound cliche as fuck, but the farther apart you go, the harder it is to come back together. Just like in relationships, right? All right, so let's look at this as like if they were married and they're getting divorced. All they seem to argue about is alimony. Like, all they seem to care about is how much money they're getting and when they're going to get it. But what they really need to be fighting over are the assets, aka its citizens. So in order for bills to now get done, I no longer think you can compromise with money. You need to start compromising with social issues, aka the things that the kids care about. So, like, oh, you don't want abortions anymore? Okay, well, fine. Then you also don't get guns. And then you argument like whatever paying structures you want to get done within these confines, and then maybe you might get something you both want. I don't know if this is how it's done, but I think that's how it should be getting done, because at this point, nothing is getting done, and that's only creating more and more fucking problems. And you know what? I am so sick and tired of hearing the argument that George Washington's farewell address said to not have parties in America. Meanwhile, he was president from what? 1789 to 1797? And weren't political parties starting to form in the 1780s throughout the 1800s? Like, didn't it start out with the Whigs and the Democrats? And Washington was a Whig. So don't tell me don't form political parties when you had already formed political parties. But you know what? If the idea of these extremists is to dismantle all of the political parties, then they're wrong, because the government also survived 250 years with political parties. So don't tell me getting rid of them is going to just be the solution, because it's not. But alright guys, I've talked for almost 30 minutes now. I'm assuming if I'm tired of talking, you guys are tired of listening to me. But alright guys, you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it with a friend. If you want to write in, you can reach out to me at lnbemedia@gmail.com, and make sure that you follow me on Instagram and TikTok. But alright guys, that's it for me. I'll catch up with you next week.